Hey everybody, I'm Hannah, otherwise known as Featherfall Flight, and for today's flight we're going to be trying out Overpowered, a new system by Technical Grimoire that I am helping to consult on and edit for. So I've pulled up here a short dungeon for a system I've never played before, and the dice app for the Overpowered system, and we're going to explore the Crypts of Bes-Amat with our little overpowered bot, Gilded.Earl.13. You can see his name right down there at the bottom. So, without further ado, let's take a look at what this bot can do. Gilded Earl has a net launcher to bundle up its targets that can be used to contest AC, strength-based, and intelligence-based challenges. It can mimic and appear as any sampled creature, so I'm going to interpret that as any creature that it has already scanned, and that will contest charisma, morale, or wisdom. It has jet boosters, so it can move quickly and also use those flames to ignite materials, which can contest speed, breath, or constitution. It has a translator, which will synthesize verbal communications and can challenge wisdom, language, or intelligence. It also has legs, which makes it nimble and adaptable. Its speed is average, and it's got a little bit of a lower jump and climb ability. It always emits a constant high-pitched tone, and it recently had its memory wiped. Alright, so you are fresh out the gate, Earl. Perhaps it is your mental processing that is gilded from that mental reset. Alright, so the Crypts of Bes-Amat is an introductory dungeon for Polyhedral Dungeon, which is a different type of role-playing system. It was designed by Infinibadger or Jason Paul McCartan, and we are going to be exploring this dungeon with Earl's help, guiding Earl through it. The first part of Overpowered is reading through the adventure and getting familiar with what's going on. You are responsible for guiding the bot through this dungeon or any others safely, and so you get to make the choices about what it is going to explore, what threats it is going to pursue, and so on. I did a read through, borderline skim through of this before this recording, so that I can be a little bit surprised as we go, but I have some familiar with what's going on. So here we have the premise. Bes-Amat is a lich, and his cultists are attempting to bring him back to life, or at least reanimate him. He has cultists known as the Chosen, who are involving themselves in blood sacrifices to try and rouse him from his slumber, and he intends to return to taking over the throne and becoming the leader of this kingdom of Torrenskill. The high priests and the Chosen have gathered in the Blooding Hall underneath the false temple. This is the true temple, or the Crypts of Bes-Amat, and they are intending to start a ceremony that will awaken him for good. If that happens, then there's going to be trouble, but it is not Earl's job to interfere with the doings of cultists. Earl just needs to figure out what's going on with this place, maybe to help some other adventurers get through here and stop things in the future. So for the end goal of this dungeon exploration, I think I'm going to say once we reach the blood chamber, the blooding hall specifically, then we will call this adventure complete for Earl and calculate our high score in Overpowered. So we are going to start out at the landing. We enter here from the false temple, which is not pictured in the map, and we head down to do that above the real temple to Bes-Amat in the city. It has two entrances in its lower cellar areas to access the crypts and the temple. Each of those entrances are behind locked doors, and both contain blood traps. Alright. And all the high priests hold keys to the doors. Well, unfortunately for us, there are no high priests up here yet, so we are going to have to use Earl's own power to get past these entrances. So the difficulty of the entrances is 8. So first off, I've got to roll the difficulty. I will roll 2 d8s. A 4 and a 7. Alright. And then I will get rid of those immediately. Now that I know the value. These dice here represent the power banks of Earl, and I can use these numbers to attempt to overcome any challenges that I come across. So there is a door that is only 4 difficulty, and I do have a 4 on this d8 in my power banks, but you have to overpower a challenge, not match it in the overpowered system. So I will also need this 1 on the d4 to make it through. So I will go ahead and spend 4 and 1 in order to get 5 and make my way through one of the entrances. There is a blood trap, which, if we look down, we know it's there, so we can warn Earl about it, but we have no blood. We are only a robot, and so we cannot circumvent this yet. So, a silent alarm will ring, and 6+2 skeleton guards are going to come and try and intercept us. So let's see how many skeletons we have to deal with from area 5, which is up here. Okay. So, skeleton. First off, I do need to add to my bank. We overcame that challenge, so we did complete area 1 here. Alright, got a 4. And the skeletons will probably intercept us around the time that we get to area 4. So Earl will head down in this direction and encounter how many skellies? 3 plus 2 is 5 skeletons. That is going to be difficult for our little robot to overcome. So we can either outrun the skeletons, we can attempt to ignite the bones. They're not going to listen to anything that we say. We do have legs, so outrunning legs and jet boosters. I think I like to imagine that the little boots shoot flames out of them and just rocket Earl across the area. But now we have we have a really good incentive to get these skeletons because then we can mimic them with Earl's devices. So I think probably a net launcher is the way to do it. Let's see how much these skeletons are going to hurt. Medium skeletons. They attack with a small sword or a small bow. Their armor class or strength or intelligence. Okay, so their body and their mind would be either the strength and the intelligence. So we've got a range here. And for range in Overpowered, we always take the highest value. So we will assume that it's 6 and 6. Alright, hang on. Well, I am still learning the system, so thinking back on it, I probably should have done that higher value for the door entryway leading down to, but I will just do the right thing from here on out. So 6 is what I need to beat. So I need to get a 7 or higher to overcome the skeleton's strength and intelligence. And there are 5 of them. So I can definitely get 3 with the power that I have, but I'm going to be having a little bit of trouble with the remaining 2. Probably gonna have to jump right into a deficit from the beginning. Okay, so first off, let's do the 4 and the 3. That will take care of one of the skeletons. Bundles it up with the net launcher. We are in a narrow hallway, so at least they can't all try to attack me. That will incapacitate the one skeleton. Then in Overpowered, once you deal with a creature type, that creature will no longer bother you. And these are individual creatures. I am, for the sake of making things difficult, I will assume that I have to deal with everything. So since I already know that I have 4 more of these guys that I have to deal with, I am going to spend 40 overpower to get a bunch of dice. So now I can spend an exact 7 to get skeleton 2, and an exact 7 to get skeleton 3, and then 4 and 5. Alright. Earl firing at all of these skeletons, net after net after net. And these aren't even the tough guys around here, so we will just scan a weak creature. as we have these netted up skeletons. Whew, okay. That was a lot. Let's check out Area 4 then. Area 4 has large numbers of jars of pickled items, including many body parts that previously belonged to those who attempted to join the cult but failed, or from intruders. Human internal organs such as the heart, lungs, etc. are turned into foods and used in various rituals by the cultists. Alright, I would say that body parts, while they don't have any monetary value, knowing what is kept there and what it is used for probably would count as a handful of treasure, so I will take a d4. And that does complete room 4. I also think that we don't have arms, and we're always making sound. So we can't be sneaky at all, is what that tells me. We're here at 4. I think if we mimic one of the skeletons, that gives us arms because they attack with swords and bows. So if we do that, then we can pick up some of these pickled body parts. And if we do that, I wonder if any of them would have blood in them. I'm gonna look that up. Alright, so after a few days, blood vessels decompose with the rest of the body. And so if blood hasn't leaked out, it will just come out naturally when the vessels decompose. Interesting. Okay, well, presumably they would have drained the objects that they were going to use for food, common butcher practice, so unfortunately that probably will not work. We'll just have to keep looking around. We can go back up to Area 3 over here. I did not go to Area 2, which is unfortunate because that would have been a really good place to go to. And I'm gonna need to find some blood to offer before I activate that blood trap again. So we go into Area 3. The room is full of various supplies used in ceremonies in the false temple. Sometimes these are used to replenish supplies needed in the blooding hall. So we can enter into an area for entering 4 and for entering 3. And we can get a handful of treasure from scanning the items in this storage room. And that's everything in Area 3, so that's complete. So we can now go to Area 5 or head down to Area 9 or 10. Area 5 has loot. It'll cause more skeletons to show up, though, and that's a lot of skeletons. 12 skeletons. Area number 9. jar rooms. Each of these 4 rooms are stacked with canopic jars, with each jar filled with the internal organs of the preserved. And the preserved are medium major zombies. Alright. We could safely go into that area. And 10. The gathering room. At any time there is 12 cultists in this room, along with a high priest and a preserved bodyguard. There's an effigy in here. This is just too much in the way of monsters, I think. So, I need to figure out what direction I'm going to go next. If I go to 7 and 6, that would activate another blood trap. I really need to find something that bleeds. Room 8 is not worth it. Room 6, not worth it. Room 7 has treasure for sure. And it has an entryway that leads to also the preservation room. Okay. So that is not at all a worthwhile path to pursue. I think the thing to do is to make the way towards 12. If we go into room 5, there is a lot of loot. And 12 skeletons that will just keep coming back. We can pass through room 9, which has the jars that contain the internal organs of the preserved. We can check in room 12. Well, room 9 is a new area, so mark that down. We can also go through room 12. Which is a new area. And enter room 5, because nothing is going to attack us just for visiting that area. So all of those things are true. There are sarcophagi and so much loot. But I know that the loot will activate the enemies, so I can't force little Earl to try and check it out. That would be cruel. They are preserved in room 11, so that's not a worthwhile thing to look into. Which means 13, maybe? Yes, we can go into room 13. Enter new area. There are sarcophagi here with big bads in them. And there is only one of them activated per opening one. So I think we can probably take out one of the 5. That seems like a worthwhile thing to do. So a remembered. Major mummy. Body is 8, mind is 6, soul is 6. Alright. So we have to fight the mummy. And I like the idea that we use our jet boosters to light it on fire. That is a body. So we will have to get a 9, and we have 2 dice that are enough to overcome this. Remembered, we ignite it and immobilize it, and then that is that's pretty strong. That's a pretty strong creature. They are medium, so they are not weak. So I will give us D12 as we scan that creature. And there is loot 4 and 6 and 4, so 14 loot. That's still just generic loot though, so I would say that would be a handful of treasure. That was definitely worth doing. We could probably do that a couple of times. Where are we now? We are near room 14. Same as room 12, the past ones. Smaller crypts with cleaned and bleached bones. Okay, so we can safely move into area 14 if we want to. But there are 5 remembered. I think we can take them. It's at least worth taking one more since we have nine right there. But if I use that, then that d20 won't go to my overpower. Let's move into the next room. We'll enter a new area, see if we come back. Earl is probing on ahead, finds more bleached bones, just like in 12. And this loops around to area 10, which is the gathering room. That has 12 cultists, 2 high priests, and 2 preserved bodyguards. Not a good to the beach. This is not a day at the beach, actually. There's 16 and 17 are not connected to this main map. If we can get one more handful of treasure. Okay, we can go back and take out another, scorch another revenant. A remembered. So there's that 9, 7, and 2. And we loot to get that overpower back to 0. Okay. A solid wall with a set of stairs that leads down. Portal appears at the top of the steps. And Bes-Amat sleeps in room 17. So, other than finding new places, there's no reason to try and get to those because we'd have to go into that big old problem of room 15. It's got 20 cultists, 5 high priests, and 7 skeleton guards. And chosen, yeah, that's not a room worth going to. We have our way out now, though, which is a good thing. We can just walk out to the beach when we're ready. I really would have liked to have found some blood, though, because I missed that secret room up in Area 1. What would it get me? It would get me a sigil. And a cloak. All of which is loot. And then some ancient texts. Those would probably be powerful objects. But is it worth activating that trap and getting skeletons coming back towards me? I'm not sure that's a valuable use of our time. I can kill 2 more revenants and get a positive score, or immobilize them rather. And I think that's what our end goal is going to be. Since Earl has found that this place is too teeming with individuals, they are going to have to cut their losses and get out with whatever they can. So we will go back to room 13 and probably maybe even complete it. So back to the Remembered. Gotta beat that 8. So we've got 1, 2, 3 for the 9. Get another handful of treasure from the sarcophagus. And that's good. That means we'll have enough to complete the area. So then we have, I guess technically I have been immobile. Okay, so I have 2 more strong creatures, huh? That's the 3rd revenant that I've defeated. Remembered. 2 more remembered to go. So I want that 11 up there, I guess. 4, 4, 1. It'll never happen if I do that, though. I can't get that 11 up there. I would need to not spend any of these. And also fight 2 more revenants. And I don't have enough with just these d4s, so instead, the best that I can do is get this 2 and this 4 up into the overpower. So I will spend an 11 to overcome another remembered, get its loot, scan the creature, and then use the 12 to overcome the last one and get its loot. And that is game. Having deactivated the strongest mummies in this sanctum here, and having gotten the lay of the land for the outer area, Gilded.Earl.13 did not look into the secret door in time due to facilitator error, but did successfully manage to scout out the perimeter and the inside of these surroundings so that hopefully in the future an adventuring party will know what areas they can safely retreat to or draw enemies into for a bottleneck so that they can successfully deal with the cult of Bes-Amat. Good job, Earl. Ending with an overpower of 6 is not bad. So that will do it for our experimentation with the overpowered system. My thoughts are that it was definitely fun. I think I would like a little more in the way of engineering my objectives. I'm looking forward to working with David to start developing this system further and make this game the best that we can make it. Until next time, I will see you all on another Featherfall Flight.